All right. Well, that takes us on to the Blues and the Hurricanes in Auckland. So, new injuries report on this one. Beauden Barrett, we talked about with the gash on his heel. Probably, he was also due kind of a rest week. So, we
This week
fairly
or next, yeah.
this week or next. So, we're fairly certain. Well, we don't think we'll see him this week. And AJ Lamb also rolled his ankle pretty badly. So, we don't expect to see him. Hurricanes, Jacob Devery did a shoulder. And Devin Flanders did a concussion. So don't expect to see him through return to play protocols.
Returning, I got Stephen Parra franchise, the man, the myth, the legend. I think he should be back. They've talked about it. It was always his due date. He'll be back playing at 10, I reckon, in place of Bodie Barrett. You got Caleb Clark, Rico Ioane, Finlay Christie, and Offa Tu'ungafase all coming back from their All Blacks rest week. So the cavalry really are here for that one.
Just a couple of bums.
For the Hurricanes, equally from their All Blacks rest weeks, Geordie Barrett, Tyrell Lomax, and Artie Sevilla. Just so much class coming back into both of these sides. It is outrageous.
It's really like a who can outdo the other in terms of players coming back. You know what I mean? That's
for sure.
But yeah, the Blues. Nepo Leilala, he returned last week. I'll be honest, he confused the hell out of me because he'd shaved his head like off to an Afasi, so I kept getting confused who was playing. But Nepo's always had the pretty, I don't know, definite haircut. But
I just assume that Offa can grow dreads in a week anyway, so hopefully it'll be a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, true. But look, Nepo, he came off the bench back from his calf injury last week, so we're assuming Offa after his rests. We could see both the All Blacks props starting, so see Offa at loose and Nepo starting at tight, really rolling out their best front row to take on the Hurricanes with the likes of Lomax and Numia.
I think it'll be interesting then as well what they do on the bench, because Marcel Renato, I think, has been really, really good starting for them in the tight head prop position. But the Lay brothers have been excellent off the bench as well. So they've got some really good depth there, and probably far more depth than we expected at the start of the year.
I feel like the Blues went from having no props a couple of years ago to having all the props for the last 3 or 4, 5 years. I don't know.
But they lost a few, and then still somehow they've come back. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Look. We've also got Akira Cho and Satotu at 6, 7, and 8. We reckon that they'll just go around again. Dalton's not back until quarterfinal time. So is there any reason why you would muck with that? I don't see one.
I don't think so, particularly since Akira and Satutu have been rested and not played a lot of minutes. Oh, Akira's come back from injury recently, so no, I can't see any changes there.
You don't see Akira back to the bench, maybe like Big Sauce or someone getting around at 6?
No, I do not. I do not see that. That would be ridiculous, Harry. But yeah, in terms of the backs, then look, we said Beauden Barrett probably out. Let's see the Parra franchise straight in at 10, or do we see Harry Plummer in at 10 because they no longer believe Roger Tuivasa-Sheck exists since he left for the Warriors? I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, isn't it? Without Beauden, you kind of think Perifetta would just go straight into 10, like he's.
That's what I think should happen, but I just think Plummer has had too many quiet games in a row as well. Like I think I'm not sure I would pick Plummer at 10 or Plummer at 12. We talked about then if you shift Plummer to 10, you can have Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at 12. I actually think they should go Parra franchise 10, Tuivasa-Sheck at 12, Sullivan at 15, and then
Plummer to the bench.
Radabanamuki-Neepkins on the bench, and probably Plummer and Neepkins to the bench, and then that way you got coverage for the entire back line with those two. So I don't mind that, like a 5-3 split.
Yeah, I agree, and I think look, it'd be tough to bench Zahn as well. He's been playing some of his best footy, 15 in the last few weeks. So, and Parra franchise like relishes the opportunity to play 10. I think like he's been fantastic at 15, but he wants to be a 10. So
yeah,
I think he could be bang on. And it could be Plummer, whilst he had a few good games a few weeks ago. Could be time for him to inject from the bench and just provide some cover. And see how that goes. So the Hurricane, I don't think there's anything else really with the Blues. It's all the cavalry back, picks themselves. But the Hurricanes, bit of rotation in the outside backs again. So they've got, particularly on the wings, they've got the Bus, they've got Reyes, the Bus who needs one more try to set that record, we should say.
Do they keep starting him until he gets one? Because they're few and far between. Like, how many opportunities is he going to get?
I feel like he's a senior enough player to be like, boys, you're starting me until I get this try.
Yeah,
Okay.
I genuinely think that's the case.
And whether that means Artie gets over the try line and then waits for Julian to get there, so he hands him the ball and he puts it down. You know, it doesn't matter how it's scored as long as it's on the record books.
It's ridiculous to think that genuinely is the most likely way it will happen. Like Artie just running through 8 men and then just standing over the line, holding the ball with men trying to knock the ball out of his hands, like looking for the offload to throw it to his brother to give him the try scoring record.
Absolutely.
I can see that happening.
Oh, but no, with the outside backs that they had been rotating, Rayasi, Kenny Naholo, and the bus a fair amount, and they'd also been rotating their centres a lot. So it's kind of just anyone's guess, I think, really, who starts. It's, as we said, does the bus have enough pull to say I'm starting? You fight for the other wing, and then with the centres, Geordie Barrett, I think he's had his rest. So
last week, yeah.
So he'll be playing, and then it's just. I mean, Billy Proctor has been their best 13.
I think that's what it'll be. I think you'll get what you expect there, but I just the bus comments more just about the fact that I don't think he should be anywhere near the starting wing. Like the other two have been so much better, but he will because they want to give him that try and he'll demand it. And his brother will demand it as the captain. Look, the other one was at hooker. Jacob Devery got injured. That we still don't have any clarity. I think Dane Coles has been concussed for 4 or so weeks, so that's blowing out now, and that's a bit scary for him, particularly at the end of his career. And then Asafra Amua hurt his elbow a couple of weeks ago, and we've heard nothing about him coming.
Was it an elbow or neck? I thought he had a neck injury.
No, I think his elbow.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong.
No, that's. I love that.
Elbow injury. Okay. But you know. Who starts? And, you know, I went into the depths of this. Epa Lahame, also known as just Hame Faber, I think he'll start. He came off the bench last week, and I went, who the hell's that? Well, he's 29 years old, 183 centimetres, 108 kilos. He actually grew up playing in Waikato. He played a couple of years on New Zealand Schoolboys Rugby League, and when ended up getting picked for the Waikato and playing in the at the time the NPC. He got picked up by Benetton Treviso from 2017 to 2021, 2022, and then shifted over to the Worcester Warriors, where, of course, his contract got terminated, which is how he ended up getting signed for the Hurricanes. And fun fact, he actually got capped 6 times for Italy as the hooker between 21 and 22. So he's actually no slouch at all. He is definitely going to start, and I have so much more respect for him after doing this research than I did before.
Yep. No, there you go. That's he certainly went down the rabbit hole, didn't you? He looked good. He's come off the bench a couple of times this year. I mean, I think he came off the bench. There was a few times he was on the bench ahead of Devery behind either Almur or Coles or something. And yeah, I mean, he's looked good. So yeah, wow, Hurricanes not lacking in depth if you're able to pull out someone like him for your fourth hooker. You know,
imagine like playing like starting for Italy and then being the 4th choice at the Hurricanes. Honestly,
it is a bit mental. But he'll be wrapped around with Numia and Lomax on the other side of him, and that's a pretty formidable front row. So
exactly, yeah.
But
I had Brady say, obviously, just straight back to the bench. Had a cracking game again on the weekend, but Artie straight back in. I think the only other thing is Flanders with his could be out with his concussion. If he is, then maybe it's just Braden Yosei just straight to the blind side.
Or more of our preseason favourite player, Peter Lackite. Can we see him back into the fold, please? Or
he's disappeared, hasn't he? He's not named on any of the injury reports, so I wouldn't mind it as well. But I also just don't think he's a 6, man. He's an out and out 8. So
I know. I just wanted to bring back his name. I feel like it's been weeks since we've said it. It's been too long. So
you've done well. And the only other point I had was Peter Umaga Jensen back into the rotation, back into the pile. I don't think we'll see him again this week. I think he's out. We mentioned the centres that we thought were going to get picked, and he's just not versatile enough for me to be on the bench with the other players I do have.
Now we've talked about, before we do tips, we've talked about lineups. Before we do tips, I was going to say, how do you actually see this game going? We've just talked about the lineups really, but I'm trying to think, like in trying to formulate my tip for this game. I'm trying to figure out where the areas the Hurricanes can really get stuck into the Blues in this one. Like, I think the Blues, I mean, the Hurricanes have been really, really good, but I'm kind of backing the Blues in this one.
Honestly, I think they're very, very even across the park. I think the Hurricanes, as we've said in the past, they're going to be looking for their backline Cam Roigard to be their strike weapon around the edges of the ruck. And then that just creates some space out wide for the electric backs that they have. I hope they play Ray Arce and Kenny Naholo, because I think that's how they can be the most damaging. And then, both their centers have been excellent as well. So it's a pretty lethal backline. Aidan Morgan will do his best not to pass the ball out, because I know he loves a run. But I don't think that's the best thing for the team. I think you just need to feed the outside after Cam Roigard has a dart. The Blues, it's just, to me, if they can show up with their best defensive game that they can offer, then I think they're just going to have they're going to be too workmanlike to kind of run over the top of them. And I think the Hurricanes might not get enough space and enough ball. But I think that's what it comes down to, the attitude of the Blues, because when they're at their best, they're a class above the Hurricanes. But if they're not quite at it, the Hurricanes are a dangerous side. And this, to me, is the battle for a home quarterfinal. This is 4th versus 5th. Whoever wins this one gets a home quarter. So there's a lot on the line.
Yeah, it's true. I just was reflecting again upon the juicy matchups that will be possibly Caleb Clark and Kenny Naholo and Ray Arce and Talea. I mean, God, that's some good rugby watching right there.
Please give us that.
Please don't be raining in Auckland. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, yeah, I really needed that to try and form my tip. I'm going to go with the Blues still at home in Auckland, but not by much. I'm going to say the Blues maybe by 5.
Yeah, I reckon you're pretty close. I might go by...
You're just checking the line first quickly? Is that what you're doing?
I always do. The Blues by 6. Or the Blues by 6. Yeah, I reckon I'll just beat the line. If anything, I was dead set looking at 4 and 6, so you've done me well there by giving me the 5. It didn't help me at all.